Hello, good morning. I've said that a few times on this podcast, good morning, and then I reference that it's a podcast, so people could be listening to it at any time. And I guess we will go in early with with this week's write-in, which is when and where do you listen? We've had a few people, so if you're new to the podcast, there was one lady who, after the first or second episode, I think it was the first one. It was exactly 53 minutes long, which it turned out was her exact commute time to work. So now I always make sure that the episodes are at least 53 minutes long. And so I know she listens on the way to work. Then there is somebody who delivers things very early in the morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I think he gets up. So I make sure the episode's out in time for him, UK time, 3 o'clock on a Monday morning, because I know he listens while he delivers stuff. I don't actually know what it is he delivers, but he delivers stuff. It's quite vague. Could be illegal, but I think it's fine. But he listens there, and I know there's one girl who listens as she falls asleep, which I try not to take offence to, but I also get it. I do like listening to a podcast to fall asleep, and I'll do that when I'm staying away in a hotel because it's weird new noises that you're not used to. So pop on a podcast, bit of something familiar and something. Although to be fair, I usually do listen to something that not one of my not one of my favourites I'd put on because I go, oh, I don't really care if I miss it. So maybe you get to listen twice. Maybe you do listen twice to it. Let me know. Because that's why I could never fall asleep listening to an audiobook, because I'd actually want to know what's happening in the story, and I'd never know at what point I fell asleep, so I wouldn't know how to manage that. So I'll just pop on a podcast that I enjoy, but is good sort of background noise. Yeah. So yeah, let me know when and where do you listen. For me now, recording this, it's Friday actually. It's Friday afternoon. It is 3:30 on Friday afternoon, and I usually record this on a Sunday if I can. Otherwise a Saturday, and that's so it's as up to date as can be when it comes out Monday morning. This week, however, I'm off to Nottingham tomorrow for a show, and then on Sunday I've got my family coming over. So I never know how long they're going to stay for. It might end up being a late one, and then I would hate to sort of have in the back of my mind the idea that when they go, I've then got to come and do a podcast. So I thought I'll just do it on Friday. Also, I've got stuff to talk about that we didn't finish last week, like the rest of my holiday. And what else happened this week? The eclipse. We'll talk about that. I don't usually do a preview of what's coming up on the episode. Would you like that? Let me know if you'd like that as well. But then how would I know? Because it's usually tangents. But I know now, for example, it will be second part of the holiday and the eclipse. What I could do, some podcasts do this, is they record an intro after the episode. So when this ends, I could then just record a quick intro saying, hello, thanks again for listening. This week I talk about blah, blah, blah. I hope you enjoy it. Here's this week's episode of Had Worse Mondays. Was that a bit radio DJ? Anyway, one thing I wanted to talk about is I had a message from a lady when I was away on Instagram. This is about my holiday. Blimey. Second train derails in 24 hours. So a train derailed yesterday. I thought it'd be a good thing to have like news flashes and updates come up on the phone. So you sort of, it does mean that you're sort of aware of what's going on in the world. But there needs to be a good news one, because to be honest, it's rarely that. Where was it? It was on Instagram. A lady messaged me. I don't know how I'm going to find this, to be honest. But I remember she mentioned 9 years. Let me see if I can search it. 9 years. No. Basically, a lady messaged me, and she said that she had lived in Florida for 9 years, I think, and had never seen an alligator. And when I was there, I saw, if I just quickly count now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6. And I was in that part in Orlando, I was there for a week. I saw 6. And it wasn't, I didn't go out. I guess the closest I did to going to look for one would have been Mount Dora. But I always remember going to Mount Dora and you could just see them in the water anyway, sort of their eyes. And then it's a cool thing watching an alligator in the water, because it's their eyes and then nothing, then a bit of their nose. And it's quite a fun thing to see. Then you sort of get maybe a little bit of the back and the tail as they swimming along. But otherwise, it's just that little bit. It's like how you spot them. Yeah, I can't imagine not seeing. At one point, I think I said this. I was driving back from Kennedy Space Center and there's water along the side. Looked over, just saw 2 of them swimming along. Big ones as well. They were like, I'd say at least 5 foot. Let's find her message if I can. But this might just be me scrolling for a while. I did reply and I said it blew my mind. Oh God, it's weird when you see a message and you don't know what's it in response to. I can just see somebody's message and said, "Thank you, no worries. I love your comedy." Oh, that was it. Somebody stole my identity on Threads. So somebody came up with an account, Jake Lambert Comedy, but the O in comedy was a 0. Which is a lazy way to do it, because a 0 really stands out. It's like as big as a capital letter. What you want to do is, I shouldn't really give them tips, but maybe 2 Y's on the end of comedy, or an extra E after Jake E. Lambert. You could find better ways. Conedy would be a good one. Jake Lambert Conedy, Conedy. I don't think people would pick up on that one so much. A 0 is really lazy work, but I think they were messaging people being a bit creepy. I don't think I'm going to be able to find this message, to be honest, but it was crazy for me that they just hadn't seen any. I can't find it now. Scrolling back, you checking the request folder is always a crazy thing to do anyway. I'll give you an example now if you want. Go into my request folder. Okay, here's one I got 25 minutes ago. It's long, actually. I probably won't read all of it, and I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. So I can see, I would show you on screen, but then I'll have to block out their username. It's replied to, I did a video during the World Cup. It was when the World Cup and Wimbledon was going on. I did so I paused for a moment and thinking, what if this is horrendous and I can't put this bit out? But I don't know what she said. But it starts with, "Hi, how are you?" So I'm assuming it's going to be okay. It's a video I did, football players versus tennis players. And it was the idea that footballers, when they're taking a penalty, they have all this abuse and they're able to, like, got the pressure of an entire nation on their shoulders, and all the fans behind the goal, if they're against them, will be trying to put them off. All this pressure, all this noise around 80,000 people making all this noise, whether it's for you or against you, it's pressure. And then, a tennis player serving for, the 30th, 40th time during a game, set, match. Match is the big thing, during a match. Even like will like put them off. Anyway, so it's a response to that video that they've sent me my own video, and then they've sent quite a long message. If I basically show you how long it is, I can't see the whole message on one iPhone screen. I have to scroll through to get to the whole message. I'm gonna guess before I go in, maybe it's a tennis player, and I haven't really given them the credit they deserve for the pressure on them. Here we go. "Hi, how are you? I don't know if you'll see this. I haven't actually. I'm reading this out on a podcast, but I'm not going to give their username. But I just stumbled across this video and your account for the first time right now. And this might seem like I'm trying to make a big deal out of nothing. But I couldn't help but notice that it's always a he like he is getting ready to score or he just lost all his concentration. I know that most of the sports we watch are male dominated, but I think this is mostly because some years ago women weren't allowed to do sport. They weren't allowed to do sports. I don't know about that. When I was younger, I'm not saying this person's wrong, but there was a guy lived down my street, and it was when we were young. We'd play out in the street. It was a dead end, so you could play in the street. There was very rarely would you have to stop and shout car. Anyway, he owned 2 houses. Roy, his name was, and his front garden was all overgrown. Which to us it was like a jungle. 2 houses, but they weren't attached. So it was all the houses on that street were semi-detached. But he had a right side of one and a left side of the other. And his son lived in one. And he was odd because I also knew the family who lived in the connected one. And I'd sleep over and you could hear strange noises at night. It was like he was on a rowing machine at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, Roy lived with Mary. And they were old. And Roy was the one, if the ball went onto his drive, you went to get it, and there would be like if you can hear this, like a on the glass, and you'd run away. You're going to get in trouble, Scariest thing when you're younger really is going onto someone's property to get a ball back and hearing that on the... For me, maybe that's just my experience, but that was like the scariest thing that could happen. You just run. Anyway, one day... I went to get the ball back. It was me and Luke. And he was the one that lived in the one that adjoined to her... the adjoining house to her son's house. And went to get the ball back and the door opened. Front door. And it was Mary. And Mary looked a bit like... There's an old lady in The Simpsons that looked a bit like her, sort of grey hair, but seemed nice enough. Older lady, for me that looked definitive old lady, sort of pale. You could see her veins, but very friendly and sort of dressed smart, but not too smart. She wasn't like stuffy. It was just picture Mary like that. Maybe my parents might picture her differently. Maybe it's just in my head. There was like an old lady in The Simpsons. She looked like. Anyway. I think we went to say sorry or something, went to run away, and she said, no, come here. I remember her. She said, come here. But not in an angry way, just come here. But you don't know if you're being tricked. So we went there, and she opened up to us. We must have been, I don't know, 8, maybe 9 years old. Maybe 10. And she said that Roy's not in. She said, it's okay. She goes, you can get the ball. She goes, I don't mind. He said the reason he doesn't like it, she said, is because during the war, all the men went off to war. And the women, she said, we stayed back, and they said, she mentioned, they had jobs, but she said, we all started playing football. We had like a football league. And she goes, and I played football, and all the women had this little football league going on, and it was great fun, and we loved it. She said, then the men came back, and they didn't like it. They didn't like that we'd been playing, and so Roy then, whenever he sees that, he doesn't like football because of that, because we sort of had our own independence. Actually, maybe this message is correct then, that they weren't allowed, because she said that Roy didn't like that she was playing football. And now he doesn't like to even think about football, which is tough if you live in England, because it's sort of everywhere. I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. This is, if you're watching for the first time, in a Mondea's mug. A Mondea got me. There we go. The Mondea's there. It's going to have another sip. Didn't quite get enough then. Right. I love that she told us that. And I've mentioned it to my mum a few times since, but I don't know if she believed me. But yeah, she just told us that. We started a league, we'd play football on the weekends, and yeah, then the men came back and they didn't like it. There you go. Could probably be a good film about that. Anyway. And mostly because some years ago women weren't allowed to do sports. Yeah, maybe you're right, actually. Mary did, but maybe wasn't allowed. And when they finally were, people try to take them out of the spotlight. Nowadays, using male pronouns in simple videos or reels has become normal. But I feel like these are just simple gestures that no one pays attention to that have to stop to finally reach equality amongst women and men. I'm really not trying to insult you in any way. This is nice and balanced, at least, because this is something that everybody does without even noticing. Sometimes me too, but I think that as a society we have to concentrate more on these little things that, without knowing, build our ways of thinking. So maybe next time in a similar video, could you maybe say something like, they are getting ready to score, or they are not concentrated? It's a small change, but trust me, it makes a difference if everyone starts doing it. And she's put a love heart emoji. Sorry to bother you, just felt like sharing this thought. Thank you for reading it. So she's been very nice about it. Very nice. Now I say he in it. I mean, I did this video over a month ago, but the video is that he's about to take a penalty. One, it was the men's World Cup was on, but also I am a he and I'm in front of the camera. So the commentator, who I don't gender, the commentator is saying he because he is on. I'm a he and I'm on the screen. But I don't. So, yeah, I think. Do you know what I'm going to do actually? I did a video a few years ago about adult friendship. And in the video, I deliberately said the words they. It was a what's your best friend's job? And I reply and say something like, I think they work in something, da da da. And I kept saying they because I did want it to be that you could imagine it was you talking about your best friend. I'm going to send her that. I'm just going to send her that, but not in a not nice way, because she's been very nice. And even if she wasn't nice, I'd still try and be nice back. Because if someone isn't very nice in the DMs, if you go back nicely, I find it annoys them even more. But she has been nice. I want to go back nice. Let me find that video. Actually, I think it's pinned. Is it pinned? Have a little look. So yeah, this is just an insight sort of messages I get. Here, found it. That was quick. Right, here we go. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to reply, because the reason I say that is she might have seen that I've seen the message and I don't want her to think that I'm angry. I'm just going to put here, okay, how do I word this correctly? Oh, God. Blimey. This is the sort of DMs I get. I rarely check the DMs, to be honest. I'll sort of like once a week or once every other week, I'll just sort of dip in to see. Because sometimes it's nice stuff, or sometimes it's something to do with epilepsy and they want me to do something as part of that. Or sometimes it's... Actually, I had a really lovely message from I was going to say woman, and it sounded really dismissive. And I'm also panicking now because of the message I just got. But she was a woman. From Denmark. And her son has epilepsy, and she said how he loves to joke about it. Well, not love to joke about it, he jokes about it. She said she's just given up her job to play music for people with epilepsy or people who are ill. And then she sent me a video, and it was a boy. It's on Instagram. It's a reel out there, so I sort of could show you maybe, but this boy, and he's got I don't know, something over his ears, and she's playing music and he can hear it, and you can just see he's like 2 years old. Let me try and find it, because she sent me this message and it was so lovely. Can't remember her name. I think it was Lisbeth. Here, I found it. She sent me a video. Let me see if I can find it. So I can show you this because it's a public video. So if you're watching, I wouldn't know how to find a good way to put it into this video, so I'll just show you. But there's this boy, and he's in hospital, and I think there's writing coming up on the screen, but it's in Danish, so I don't know what it's saying. But I think MAGISK is maybe magic, and then OJE Blick might be music, the magic of music. But look, you can see the boy, and he hears the music. And maybe you can hear how happy he gets. There you go. A bit of that. Sorry, I realised if you weren't watching this, if you're only listening, then you were just listening to music. But you could hear him laughing away. It's obviously making him so happy. So she sent me that. So she plays music for people, and just said, if there's anything we could do, or maybe we can ever do something together one day. So yeah, I replied, maybe we will. Maybe we will. I want to make an epilepsy documentary, so that would be cool to be part of that. I was writing this message to this lady. I'm just going to put, hi, it just says he. I just wanted to sort of downplay it so she knows it's not malicious. It just says he. Sorry, just listen to me do my admin here. It just says he because, I hope this is okay to say, I am a male on camera, and the commentator was referring to what they were watching. Also, because men's football is more toxic, because the point was that the crowd are not nice as well. If there's ever videos that refer to someone who isn't on the screen, then I use they, unless it's part of the story, part of the narrative. Right, then I'm going to send the video, and then the video is me. I'm going to copy the link to the video, which is me saying that. There you go. Let's see if she comes back. But there we go. Sorry, that's the sort of DMs you can get. It can be anything. It can be a lady saying that she plays music for ill people, or it's somebody, I don't know, I guess trying to do sort of fight their own fight there, but in a nice way. I did get one. Did I have a screenshot it? I got one. It was during half time of the England-Denmark game, and this guy messaged me, and it was so funny. I'm pretty sure I screen grabbed it. Screenshots. Well, I can't find anything now since they moved the thing around. These are nice ones about epilepsy. These are nice ones. You get a lot of nice ones, so I should be clear. Here's one. What a grade A, plummy-voiced mummy's boy, TWAT, FUCK, me, you look like a little girl, weedy male. And that's from Craig Warburton. I will show his, I'll put his username up there quite happily. Craig Warburton. If you know him, do you know anyone know Craig? There's a little message from Craig there. So, you get all sorts in there. Right, 23 minutes in, and I've not spoken about my holiday yet. So, where I left you was, I'm going to have another sip of my tea, that I went down to Del Rey, a village called Del Rey. I think it calls itself the Village by the Sea in Florida. Lovely hotel, really nice hotel. Cool, they get you on those charges on the way out, though. As I checked out, I think it was like an extra £600 or something, and I was like, they charge stuff to your room, and then there's you have to pay just to sort of be in Florida every night, I think. It's like $40 just to exist in Florida for the night. I don't know. But anyway, nice hotel. And then I told you actually about it, didn't I, last week, that I posted a video that I filmed in there, and a lady responded and said, are you at the Seagate? Cool, don't know how she figured that out. Anyway, I wanted to go down to Miami. I didn't want to spend the whole time in Miami. Also, it would have been an extra hour to get there, and the drive down was really tiring, and I was struggling with my ulcers. I think you remember I spoke to you that night. I did the catch-up from there, and I'd really doused my ulcers in Canker sores, if we're in America, with Anbesol and throat spray that I put on it to numb it. Anyway, I had two either side of the tongue, so it was really painful to speak. But usually they call it doctor theatre, that if you're ill or something and you go on stage, the headache you've got or the hangover you've got will go away. Some sort of adrenaline thing. And it seemed to happen when I did the podcast, that you're just okay for the professional thing, and afterwards it's going to be really painful anyway. So the drive was tiring. I got there, and Miami was going to be another hour away. So I wasn't sure. I think I'd mentioned on the podcast. In fact, when we did the catch-up, when I checked in, I just did a smaller episode about checking in while I was on holiday, and I said I might go to Miami. However, I will say this: I'd say the responses were sort of not overwhelming, but there was enough people encouraging me to go down to Miami. Then I'd tell you what, it was a lovely breakfast thing to have at this hotel. You sat outside, comfy seats, so comfortable, in fact, and just really like the breakfast area, just outside on the sort of the balcony. Oh, it's lovely. Anyway, but away from people because all the seats were in a row, and there are trees between, so you sort of really had your own space. Anyway, one of the servers, I noticed two servers gave their sort of tips of where to go, but they never asked what. And I make sure I never do this, and I certainly will now. They said, go to this steak restaurant, go to do that. I said, well, you haven't asked me what I'm into. Well, I'm vegetarian for one, which I think I just told you when I did my order. Anyway, it's very nice they want to say, do this, go here, but they've not gone, what are you into? What do you like? What's your vibe? I think that would be a good use for like Chat GPT. I remember thinking of this ages ago. If you go on holiday, like I live in Battersea, and if I was to go to New York, Brooklyn would be the place to go that's similar. And I stayed in Brooklyn when I was there. I stayed in Dumbo. It felt, which obviously you're supposed to go and do new experiences, but it's just like a little bit to go, okay, this is like my version of this, and this is the place in London I like, this is the place in New York I should like, and I did. It was great. Really similar, in fact. Anyway, I think it'd be a good app to have to go, I like this area in these cities, what's similar in this other city? And I think probably actually AI ChatGPT would be able to probably do that. Anyway, this one girl, speaking to her about what to do in Miami, saying I'd never been to Miami. She said, go to this, she named the mall, I think it was like Bricklewood or something. Go to this, it's like an open mall, she goes, it's like an open area mall and there's shops and you walk around, it's there. And I thought, in my mind, it was Miami, and I had a picture in my mind of Miami. The picture I had was beach, then the grass, a road, and the other side, load of bars, but quite low rise. I didn't think it'd be skyscrapers, so I was thinking, that's the picture I was picturing in my mind. With the gym area there, so it'd be sea, sand, grass, sidewalk area where people are roller skating along, road with palm trees, and then bars and shops the other side of the street. That's what I was picturing. So I think, and I don't know where I've seen that. Maybe on I never watched Miami Vice, but in like an old 90s film. I'm trying to think of 90s films that are set in Miami. Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Maybe I've seen it there. Maybe I've just seen it. Maybe I was just picturing an area from like Grand Theft Auto, Vice City. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I pictured. So I thought this mall would be low and it would just be around by the beach. So put that in, aimed for there. Parked. Went into this mall. Ended up quite lazy. The first thing I did, I needed a cup of tea, so I just went to Starbucks. But this mall was just a mall. It was open, technically, yeah, there was like a gap at the top. But it was like, I guess it was like outside. You never sort of went into the mall like you would with another mall. But it was just a shopping centre. We left, walked around. And it was like, this isn't what I pictured Miami being at all. High rise. Didn't make any sense. Then my cousin Laura, she had messaged me and she had said, I'll find it actually. She had said the name of a street. I think she went there as part of her honeymoon. Do you remember Laura's the one whose wedding I went to? Then she was doing the, maybe she did Florida Keys. And she was messaging me the other day. She's messaged me actually to say, what did you think of Miami? I can't wait another week. This is because I was talking about it last week. She wanted to hear what my thoughts were, but I haven't replied to her message. She's also sending me all the videos of another comedian she saw. She recommended a bit back from Main Street. I remember she sent me a screenshot. So there's Lenox Avenue, and there was a street. That was it. She took a screenshot of it, and it was off Drexel Avenue. So I'd seen Drexel. So I was like, let me put that in quickly. Just put that in Google Maps. And it was like over this long bridge to Miami Beach. Now, I thought Miami Beach was just the beach of Miami. I didn't realize Miami Beach is an area. Went back, 20-minute walk back to the car. Got in the car. Drove over this bridge. Saw some Waymos. Those cars driving themselves. Two of them. One behind the other. In the middle of the road. Doing about half the speed limit. While one person sat in each one. Looking absolutely terrified. I overtook them. You go across this huge bridge into it was my left. The most insane houses on this island. Unbelievable things, like things I've never seen. One of them was like, I don't know quite how to describe it. You know, like the Dyson fans you can have in your house that are sort of like what's that shape? They're like that. And then it was like that on its side. White base going around the outside. I can't quite picture how to say what it is. And then, what is that shape? Like a rectangle, but with rounded edges, like circly. Oblong? What is that? And then in the middle was like glass. And that was like overlooking the water. It was like out on the water a bit. All these crazy, crazy looking houses. Went over the bridge. Drove through and I went, This is exactly what I pictured. Do you ever have this when you're going somewhere? You have a picture in your mind of what you think it's going to be like. When you get there, you then see the difference. And you can't remember what you pictured before. But I could picture both. I could picture what I pictured before and I could picture what I was seeing now. And I liked both. It all managed to fit into what I pictured it being. Lovely. Parked the car. Walked around. It was just the architecture. Just these Art Deco buildings, painted nicely. The sun was sort of not far off setting, so it was like a good, because I was going to go in the evening just about a day by the beach beforehand, so it was like sort of, what do they call it, golden hour, magic hour, where it's like golden with the sun. Walked along the beach. The beach huts like this. The lifeguard huts had. They were all designed like arty designed and looked all different. I could just put a picture. About 33 minutes, I'll put a picture. I realised what happened is I said some of the timings that I was putting the pictures up last time, but the mistake was there was an advert or 2 or 3 before the podcast last week, so I think all the timers were completely skew. But if you do go onto YouTube, it should be around 33. I put the picture of the lifeguard things. Lifeguard, don't know what they are, boxes, don't know. Saw dolphins swimming out in the sea. And then Miami was just so calm. And I always thought Miami was going to be just not my cup of tea. I thought it was going to be like very showy, very like fake. It seemed so nice walking around. I was like, this is unbelievable. So lovely. Even their Walgreens. Let me put a picture. I took a picture of their Walgreens. Their Walgreens even looked cool. 3410 Walgreens. Just thought it was brilliant. Wish I had more time there. And then I walked around, took it all in, had some food, had tacos. And then actually a lady messaged me when I got back. I checked my DMs. She said, strange, I'm pretty sure I just saw you walk past the restaurant I was in Miami. So that's when you check the request and there's nice messages. But yeah, I loved it. Love Miami. I'll go back. I couldn't believe it. People had said before they liked Miami and I was like, oh, You're not the person I thought you were. Well, Miami's not the place I thought it was. Really cool. Really nice, I'm going to say vibe. Now, I don't know if the beach gets super busy during the day. It was later in the day, but it looked cool and there were dolphins swimming in the sea. I mean, it couldn't have been more idyllic, I guess. Yeah, Miami. Then as I drove out a different way to get back, realised it would have made my journey a lot shorter if I'd come off this earlier thing. I saw the sign on the way that said Miami Beach, but it wasn't where I wanted to go, and managed to get out even quicker as well, so it would have made my journey a lot shorter, and yeah, wow. Loved it. I can't think of the last time I was that sort of surprised by a place, I guess. Where I was like, not sure about this, and I go, oh, actually, I can't, Sydney. I never really understood the hype. I just don't know why. I just thought, was Sydney ever for me? I don't know if it was really ever on my mind. I remember going there, 2023, I got there. Flew there from Brisbane. I think I did Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney. I was there for work, so doing shows. Had a Saturday night off in Sydney. I got there. I was in the Hyatt, the Park Hyatt, which overlooks the harbour. There's a picture people have where I think when they get married, they can like walk onto this bit of wood and it sort of shows the harbour in the background. My hotel room overlooked that. I was only on the second floor. Well, first floor, I guess, ground, then me, so that one, whatever. If you're from the UK, first floor. So ground, then first floor. But if you're in America, first floor, second floor. Anyway. Unbelievable. Just walking around that harbour. Lovely people. Just go and get some food. There was this wrap thing I used to get, but it was like, what did it have? It had pesto, cheese, and like tomato. Sort of a similar thing I made at home, but they had it there. It just had spinach in it. I go and get that and a cup of tea and just sit up on my balcony and just overlook the harbour. Then one day I woke up one morning. I was there for 6 nights. Loved it. That's a hotel breakfast I will eat if you listen to this. I don't often have hotel breakfast. That's when I do. I mentioned the other one I was at. I did have their one as well, but it's not the classic hotel breakfast. In this one I was at, if you were listening to that earlier and saying, I didn't think you had hotel breakfast. This one wasn't. You went down and you ordered and it wasn't like included. So it wasn't just people there waiting for toast to come out of that thing in their pajamas. You know, that sort of thing. That's what I don't like. People who haven't showered. You'd have to have showered before you went down for this one, I think. And that's the difference. Then this other one, Park Hyatt in Sydney. Oh my goodness. Saturday night off, walking around Sydney. I couldn't believe I'd never been so taken by a place. I think I fell in love. I think I fell in love with the city. And it was June or July, so it was like their autumn, I guess, and that's my favourite time of the year. Speaking of which, this November, got the date too, that I'll be in LA and New York. So that will be, I think, from the 3rd of November, I'll be in LA. So, in fact, if anyone happens to be listening who lives there, I'm there until the 12th, the 3rd of November till the 12th. I know I'm doing one show, TBC, that I'm doing a show there, just like at a comedy club, on the 4th. But on the 8th of November, the LA Chargers are playing at the SoFi Stadium, playing a home game. So I want to go and do that and see that as well. Then this week, if you're listening in New York, a show will be being announced this week by me, which I'm doing a one-off show in New York, in Brooklyn in November, but then I'll be back next year on tour. Anyway, so I'm going to LA for the first time. Never been to LA, going there this autumn. Don't know what their autumn's like, but sort of chasing the sun this year. Yeah, I didn't watch Marty Supreme last week. I was going to go and do that. I'm watching it tonight. Going to make some popcorn. Watch Marty Supreme. I started to watch it on the plane on the way to Florida, and I enjoyed it so much, but also needed to sleep. And a bit like I was talking about earlier with the podcasts, where you don't really want to be listening or watching to something that you want to take in as you're falling asleep. So I had to turn it off, and then I thought I'd treat myself when I'm home to watch it for like a proper movie night. I sound like Austin Powers then. The eclipse was this week. The eclipse. So, seemed to get mixed reviews. I think some people were underwhelmed by it. However, I don't know, because I didn't have the glasses, so I wasn't looking at it. Did it not cross like people hoped it was? I don't know. Or maybe just in the UK they had a funny angle of it. I don't know. Anyway, went over to the Clapham Common. A guy didn't know this was happening, just happened to walk past. He had a telescope facing. I could put a picture of that up, actually. That sounded very posh then, didn't I? I could put a picture of that up, actually. About 41 minutes, let me put a picture of this guy. I'm going to put it at 41:30, so I've got 20 seconds to talk about it. Picture of a guy with a telescope. He sort of had this telescope facing the sun, which obviously he couldn't look at, but it meant it worked backwards, and he could project what was coming out of the eye bit onto a bit of paper he had on this sort of, I don't know, he had it clipped onto something. So we could just sort of watch it happen, which was a lovely way to do it. And a real crowd built around. There was this couple who had made the cereal box thing they'd done, but they said it didn't work, or they couldn't get it to work. But this guy just had an audience, and and he was probably, I'd say this guy was maybe late 60 something, 60s, I don't know. But I thought he must really know what he's talking about. And he was with a girl, maybe his daughter. But it turns out the telescope, I think, was his dad's. And maybe his dad did the same thing in the 90s, in the 99 one. And so he knew what to do, but he didn't really know much about it. So he was like, so it was very nice because he wasn't like giving facts or being like looking down on us for not understanding. We were all like, oh, sometimes we lost it and we had to like move the telescope and we found it again. And then not the telescope, but the sun. I know it's hard to lose the sun, but it basically wasn't appearing on the card. We had to like shift it around. I say he did it. And it was really nice, actually. Everyone just sort of gathered around, a real communal thing. And then I spoke to the guy, actually, who works at the a shop around the corner that I go to. And Max, who runs it, he said he went over there with his partner and watched it. He said he couldn't believe how, like, the community of it all. I said it was exactly that. Everyone just sort of came together. It's like a magic thing, which probably would have happened at every eclipse that's ever happened. Back in when they didn't know what was happening, they probably got together thinking, well, this is the end. Can you imagine that? No warning. And you just see the moon doing that. You must have thought, if anyone had looked up, mind you, they wouldn't. Would they have been able to look up? They wouldn't have been, I guess they wouldn't obviously have had the technology, but they also wouldn't have been smart enough to know not to look. But I wonder if anyone spotted it. Because actually, when you looked up, yeah, because when I'd do like a half-second glimpse at the sun, you couldn't see the moon was coming because it was too bright to look at. So they would have noticed quite late, I imagine, in the olden days. Suddenly it got dark, or did they notice it got dark a bit? Mind you, we're going back centuries. Who was that guy who put 2 sticks in the ground and managed to basically work out the circumference of the entire Earth? Was that Halley? Is in from Halley's Comet? Was that the same person? Haley? Do we say Haley? Haley doesn't seem right. It's also my sister's name, so it falls straight. Halley Comet. I guess his name was Haley, wasn't it? I was trying to figure out his name. But was he the same person who worked out the circumference of the Earth hundreds of years ago? What was his name? That was, I'm not going to be able to say the name, am I? Yeah, Eratosthenes. Eratosthenes worked out the circumference of the Earth over 2,000 years ago. I couldn't figure it out now. Around 240 BC. I'm surprised I didn't think he was the son of God. He used simple geometry. He didn't. Not that simple. Shadows and the distance between two Egyptian cities, Syene and Alexandria, to calculate the size of the earth with impressive accuracy. Oh, two cities. I always thought he put two sticks down. Eratosthenes knew that at noon on the summer solstice, the sun shone straight down a deep well in Syene, modern-day Aswan, with no shadows. At the same time, in Alexandria further north, the sun was not directly overhead. He measured the angle of a shadow cast by a tall pillar. Maybe that's what I was picturing. He hired a man to pace out the distance between Syene and Alexandria, which was about 500 stadia. Don't know what. 500 stadiums? Was that a measurement they were using back then? He multiplied 500 stadia by 50 to get 250,000 stadia, later adjusted to 252,000 stadia. Why are they saying stadia? What is stadia? What is stadia? Ancient Greek unit of length, based on the length of the typical sports stadium. They were playing sports and hadn't thought to come up with an actual measurement. Just stadia. But he figured it out. Wow. Blimey. So he would have understood the moon was going to cross the sun. He would have understood what was going on there. Wow. But yeah, I wonder how much, obviously they weren't all as smart as him. It would have freaked someone out, wouldn't it? Walking along, because it's sort of got the birds. When there's a proper one, the birds, do they stop singing because they think it's nighttime? Yeah. When we were younger, was it just that I was younger, or was the eclipse a bit darker? Maybe that was just ours. Maybe the UK one didn't have the strongest thing. Anyway, let me quickly jump into some comments, because 47 minutes, that went quickly, didn't it? Well, it did for me. Sorry if it didn't for you. Gasquatch, had a shuffleboard when I was a kid. All the neighbourhood kids came to play with me and my siblings. So fun. Maybe years later, What? Oh, okay. I've just seen this as a response to episode 3. So about 30 episodes ago. So I had no idea what he was talking about. I was obviously talking about shuffleboard. Yeah, I played it at Centre Parks. So fun. Many years later, I ran into one at a bar. Is that a shuffleboard or a friend that came to play? And people I was with didn't know what it was. Okay, shuffleboard. I felt pretty important teaching them how to play. That's nice. I love shuffleboard. Not as big over here. I think it's big in North America. Anna Moore. Countdown debut was hilarious. Oh, thank you. I was on Countdown. So, when was that? Friday. So I must have already recorded this episode. I can't remember when I recorded the last episode. Or maybe it would already come out. But if there's any questions about it. Yeah, I was on Countdown. Recorded almost a year ago. Countdown debut was hilarious. A little like Jake on Work Experience. Huh. Have they asked you back? No, they haven't actually. Have you agreed? They haven't asked. The mascot crying, laughing emojis. Yeah, to be honest, I'd forgot about it. I knew I'd done it, but I forgot what everything was. So there was something. You have to take a mascot, like a lucky mascot. And I remember I just tried to build like the luckiest thing you can find. It was magpies with rabbits' feet and 4-leaf clovers. It was just loads of luck I put together. And maybe the number 7 was there. Where was number 28? Yeah, I guess so. And if I do go back on, I'll do something with my lucky number 28. Good to have you back. Looking forward to Holes Part 2. Thank you. I will say this as well. Holes Part 2. Did I tell you when I was on the beach and people thought there was a shark? I can't remember if I spoke about this last week. So I was in the water. 3 people, a woman and a son. Yeah, so three had seen it. 3 had gone, what was that? It was like they'd seen a fin. But there were 2 girls, probably about 20 metres out into the water. They were just stood there chatting. And I'm terrified of the ocean, terrified of sharks, but people were like getting out. And I was like, well, we have to go and tell them. So I walked into the water a bit. Well, I was already in the water, but I sort of kept going. And think people were surprised, but I was like, well, we have to... So I said, excuse me, and I sort of waved. They turned around and I went, and I sort of waved, come back in. And as they got close, they were quite casual. And as they walked closer to me, I said, oh, some people saw a fin. And they were like, oh, we thought it might be that. I was very casual about it. You know, I don't know why, but to be honest, I think later when I spoke to someone about it, the fin was a lot closer than I realised. I thought they'd seen one out far, but I think they'd seen one. It was certainly less than a stadia away. So I don't think I realised just how close it was. And I think the water got deep quite quickly, and I didn't realise that it could have been right there. So nobody saw anything else. After that, I don't think there was actually. One guy was out a while later with his 2 sons, and they saw something, screamed, and they came running back in. But the dad wasn't picking up the children, and everyone seemed a bit. And then he said, we saw a huge school of fish, like a big sphere, he said, of fish all together, and it just seemed a bit creepy, so we left, and one of them touched us. Then I was in the water. And then there was, I don't know if it was a baby shark or a catfish, which might have just been pretending to be a baby shark, but it was, I would say about 2 feet long. And I was like less than up to my knees, but sat down in the water. And seeing that was that close, and I don't know how I would have responded if it had touched me. But yeah, I'm scared. And what I'm like in the ocean is, I'm scared, but I'm there thinking, oh, I'll figure something out. I'm okay. I'm not swimming. I didn't go further up than like waist deep, even maybe not even that deep, because you could sort of sit in it quite. It was so warm, but you could sort of sit in it and be comfortable. So I'll always make sure you can just stand up and walk away. So I never got anywhere. No, certainly probably not even up to my waist deep. No, in fact, I don't think that deep. Maybe like bottom of my shorts. But it's always like, it's later that night when I'm laying in my hotel room that I'll be thinking, what on earth was I doing? Why was I in that water? Then the next day I'll go and do the same thing. I guess you feel like you've got control when you're there. I just always make sure I was only walking, what am I trying to say? Walking deep. That doesn't make any sense. Walk in depth. Cornish Gemma, this is a response to Anna. Bless him, he was nervous. It must have been filmed nearly a year ago as Catherine had her baby in October 2025. I don't think I was nervous. I don't remember being nervous. I don't know what they showed, but no, I don't think I was nervous. Anna Moore, I thought he made the episode. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. Proud to be a Mondea. That's lovely. Lovely. Stein 23, I love your mum for actually saying something. That was my mum taking down a bully when we were in Orlando. It was so good. Lisa Miller, I used to go to Florida annually with my ex-husband. Maybe you share children. And randomly his and his family's tradition was to go to Denny's for breakfast every holiday as well. Predominantly for the pancakes. Did I have the pancakes? No, I think I ordered an omelette and it came with a side of pancakes. Only in America. I wonder if it's a British thing as we don't have Denny's over here. Maybe. Sounds like you had a fantastic break. I'm going to be watching your 8 out of 10 Cats this week, right after House of Dragon. It will no doubt provide needed comic relief. Lisa, I hope it did. I've never seen House of Dragon. I've not seen, I think it's the prequel to, what's it called? Game of Thrones? I've never seen it. It's crazy stuff like that. Game of Thrones, like this Dungeons and Dragons-esque show. And then like that was like one of the biggest TV shows. And then Marvel and all these superhero films, like the biggest films. And I see people I went to school with posting about it, watching them, taking their children. And I'm like, but if you admitted you were into any of that when you were at school, you were like a nerd. You were like a massive geek. Now it's like it's become what the normal people watch. I'm so confused how quickly it changes. Loved hearing about your hulls. I couldn't get used to that last week. There was a lot of hulls. And about Japan. Love Gotokuji Temple. Maneki Neko, brackets cat, right paw, Famous one for money. Last week, so Vivian, who's our Japanese correspondent, lives in Bristol. She, and Hong Kong correspondent, she was one that told me that 28 is very lucky in Hong Kong. And then also sent pictures of these cats. And they're in the last episode, but I think they're all right paw. But she said sometimes there's left paw, but all the ones I could see were right. And then Julie's come back to say what each one means. Right paw is famous one for money. Left is inviting people into shops. Both together, safety. Both together sounds like you're being held hostage. In fact, speaking of being held hostage, that hasn't happened to me, but Denny's was that a thing we used to go to when we were younger. We'd go over to Florida and we'd go to, just like Lisa, you and your ex-husband would go to Denny's for breakfast. We used to do that. Denny's for breakfast. You're on holiday, and it just felt magical. Maybe it was better back then. Maybe it's cleaner and a bit nicer. Anyway, so we our family friends, the Stocks, and the parents were Moira and Ian, and the children were Elizabeth and Jonathan, and they were going out to Florida. So my mum must have said to them, "Go to Denny's. Denny's is the place to go. Go and have fun." So they went to one, and it got held up at gunpoint while they were in there. These guys walked in, held the place up at gunpoint. Now, this family, Moira especially, very religious. It was almost like sending like the Flanders, Ned Flanders' family, to be held at gunpoint. They'd go to church every Sunday. And my mum gave them one little tip to go to one place in Florida, and they got held at gunpoint. And what else? So 2 is safety. I guess that is safety. If someone's got a gun, you'd put two paws up, or hands. Don't shoot. That's keep me safe. Why do they do that? Holding 2 hands up to say don't shoot. If anything, you're sort of framing your face to let them know what to aim for. I guess it's saying a lot, I'm unarmed. I did Japanese A-level when I worked for Mitsubishi. Wow. Happy to be your guide in Japan. Sent you some pics of the space shuttle when it came to Stansted in 1930. Yes, Julie did do this. Let me add one picture in here. 57, probably about 58 by the time I say this. Space shuttle. Julie sent these pictures. Oh my God, I'm about to delete the whole note. Julie sent these pictures, space shuttle, of, I think she was working at Stansted in the 80s. Maybe she said it in that comment. And the space shuttle came on the back of a plane. 1983, Stansted, 1983. It was Enterprise, the test version, which didn't actually go into space, but still exciting. So it came in and it was flown into the UK. I'll put a picture. It's a very cool picture. It looks, very oldie world. Not oldie worldy, sorry, Julie, I didn't mean to age you. The 80s, early 80s. It just looked, you'll see the picture. It looks very much of the time. It looks cool. Anyone else laughing at the hulls? I've never seen so many. Oh, yeah, last week everyone kept saying hulls rather than holidays. Where on earth that come? It's better than hollybobs, but still, just say holiday. I've only been to Florida once in 2000 and went to Kennedy Space Center and could have met Neil Armstrong if we'd gone the day before. Oh. But instead we ended up meeting an astronaut who was called Bob, from what I remember. There is I've got a photography book of an astronaut. Is his name Bob? Is he the guy with the astronaut book? No, because who was his name? There's one that's a photographer. Astrophotography, I guess. I wonder if you met Bob Behnken. Did you meet Bob Behnken? Who's the astrophotography guy? Astronaut photography book. I mean, I've got it in the living room and I'm Googling it, which could come across as lazy, but it's because I'm doing the podcast. What is his name? God, blimey, this is annoying. Scott Kelly. Oh, no, hold on. Is it Scott Kelly? Yeah, I think it's Scott Kelly. Is that the one I've got? I think I might have 2. And I think they're 2 different astronauts. But Scott Kelly did a lot. So one, have you read the book An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth? That's a good book, but I haven't read it since 2013. Canadian astronaut, Chris Hadfield. Very good, but what happened was he gives lots of good advice in life. Like he wanted to be an astronaut, but he started training to be an astronaut before Canada even had a space agency. So he instead made sure all his qualifications and every job he had, like at one point his job was to like take fighter jets up into the sky, switch them all off, and then find the best way to turn them back and get the power back on as it falls to Earth. At one point he was doing that, and he discovered a snake was in the cockpit, and he had to fight a snake while turning a plane back on and then landing it. Anyway, he did all these jobs, and then Canada finally got a space agency. He applied, he became an astronaut, and I think because he plays guitar, I think he did David Bowie when he was up there. He performed that song when he was up there, and I remember one lesson he gives in it is that because he knew how to play guitar and everyone knew he knew how to play guitar. He was doing when they opened the space agency, Elton John was coming to perform for the opening of the space agency. So he was like, "Now I'm an astronaut. I know how to play guitar. There's a chance that I'm going to be, perhaps someone's had a word with Elton John. There's a chance, maybe someone mentions it, I'm going to be asked to come up and help perform on Rocket Man." He goes, "Maybe not, but if they do, I would love to be able to like deliver." So he learned Rocket Man on guitar. And then he went there. Elton John performed. Didn't invite him up. He never got the invite. But he said, but the important thing was if they had done, he was ready. And that's a great lesson in life. Anyway, I then went on Russell Howard's podcast and I spoke about him. He came up and he'd been on the podcast. Chris Hadfield had been on Russell Howard's podcast. Oh no, he'd been on his show, his TV show. And they baked him a cake, like a rocket cake. And then Chris Hadfield it turns out he tweeted it the next day as though he had baked it himself. So now I don't know what to believe. Any other comments? Nothing, we're okay. Let me just go to YouTube quickly because I sometimes forget the YouTube comments and I don't mean to. I just do. Your videos. Let's have a little look here. It's been a lovely episode, by the way. Thank you for listening or for watching or for both. Here we go. Ashling. Watching from my sun lounger in the Italian lakes. Ooh. Is that the Italian lakes? Is that like a separate place to Como and Garda? Or is that part of that? Something fun about listening to someone talk about their holiday while being on a holiday. Yeah, I'm the same with books. I will only really read books that are sort of set around the same time of year. I've got Lucy Foley's book I'm excited to read. I've got an early copy of it, but it's set in the snow. It's like a ski season, so but I might have to for something that I can't say yet. I might be doing something, and therefore I might have to read it sooner for something. But maybe end of September or October at least, so it's slightly closed. Hope you had a wonderful time. Also, my best friend is a huge Orlando enthusiast and goes most years, but he hasn't been to some of the places you mentioned, so I recommended Kennedy Space Station and Mount Dora to him. Lovely. Let me know what he thinks. Does he like thrift shops and like antique shops? Because there's a great one in Mount Dora. Also, there's a great Argentinian restaurant. It's just a very relaxed place. Like you go, it's just shared seating area, and you just order at the site. They're like behind the booth thing, but they're so nice. I'll find the name if he wants to go. Let me know. The players in Last Chance U. So I was talking about Last Chance U last year. It's a Netflix show last week. Sorry, it's a Netflix show. It's about these people who are sort of troubled, had like a tough life, or maybe are not that sort of like disciplined with education, and it's them trying to get back to well, I couldn't figure out exactly what level they were at. And then someone's put, the players in Last Chance Shoot are in what's called JUCO schools, junior college. It's supposed to give them an opportunity to get their grades and football skills up enough to get back into the regular colleges. Totally agree. The whole series is fascinating. It really is. It's so good. I hope your trip to Florida would have been the first episode of you speaking with random people you meet. Are you still going to do those episodes? Yes, but I'm going to start it in LA. This was a holiday, so I didn't want to end up going off and doing something like that. So I'm going to do it in LA, and I feel like LA is a good place to start. It feels fun. So the aim will be to do some of them when I'm out there. So yes, and thank you for paying attention. I appreciate that. Right, that's all from me for this week. Thank you so much for listening and or for watching. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you had a great week. I hope you have a great week. And as always, I'll see you next Monday. Bye.